I think if we all got to a place where we could name the things we're insecure about, it takes the power away from the thing that holds us back, because there's a facade there. And that facade is, I am great. Mm-hmm. That's why people follow me. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I cannot let them see a chink in the armor, a weakness, a crack, because people follow me because I'm likable, I'm productive, I'm energetic, I'm enthusiastic, I'm empowering.
People will follow you for those things. They will, but they will not change because of them. And they will follow the shine on Instagram, but they won't walk away because they aren't changed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another special episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Previously, we had a very dear friend, special friend, Mr. Jon Mccallon of Louisville, Kentucky, founder of House Blend. He is a creative leadership coach, culture change agent for companies, people, businesses, organizations. And we dove in, did a full episode. And after that, we got into a discussion about leadership and the things that hold leaders back from moving to the next level, what the things that hold us back as people of moving to the next level in our life. And the conversation got deep, it got quick. We said, turn the cameras back on, let's roll. This content is gold. And so we're going to bring that to you right now for this episode. Let's jump in.
The two biggest sins of a leader in any organization is, number one, they aren't listening. They're not listening to what's really going on.
At what level?
At all. Like,
do they listen at equal levels, like at their executive level? Do you find that they're more open to that? Or
depends on who you surround yourself with.
Right. Yeah.
So
is it their inability to listen or their refusal to listen?
Both.
Okay.
Depends on where you are. I think we all fall into the trap of, let me be clear. There are times in life with innovation, and like Steve Jobs, there's sometimes he didn't listen.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's not true. I think he listened. Listening doesn't mean you change everything you do. You have a greater awareness about the call you're about to make. Like when I was going to change everything at my last job, I did focus groups, and let me just tell you, that was a terrible thing, but it was amazing.
It was terribly amazing.
Terrible.
Thing
I'll tell you why.
Through.
Terrible because I had 150 people from different segments who heard about this idea that I wanted to implement.
Echo.
And no, that was different. That's a whole nother, I could tell you a story about Echo. That was how I went from losing to winning at Echo. That's a story in itself. I was going to change all of our programs around, and it was going to affect large groups of families. Half of those families were not happy that I was going to change the programs. But here's what, it didn't change the vision. It changed how I communicate the vision. Like I can specifically, I don't know if you want me to go into
how you communicated or implemented it. Implemented the action plan behind the vision.
How I communicated it, because the action plan was good. But the problem was, I learned two things from focus groups. One, they had one group of families had a really misunderstanding of something we did. I had no idea. They thought we were doing something. We had groups for middle school students. And they thought we were doing this group for an hour in the old program. No, we're not. We couldn't do that if we tried. They didn't realize that actually what we were doing during groups hour was a 5-minute game, a 10-minute talk, and then and groups were really about 35 minutes. Well, I didn't know that people believed that. The other thing is people thought we were taking their place by going to the new format as like the parents as the primary influence. I'm like, no. It changed one line in my entire keynote. We are going to be here when you decide that we're right for your student. That's why we're making this change. When I flipped it and put them in the driver's seat, the amount of critical feedback I got, negative feedback, was almost none.
That's
because
amazing.
I put all the value back on them and saying, hey, why am I making this change? Because right now in the old system, it's really hard to know when we're available for your son and daughter. In the new system, it's going to be really clear when we're available for your son and daughter, just like it was in kids ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you can decide when and where you want to use us. We'll be here.
So the number one problem that you see, you said the number one cardinal sin of
Not
leadership is their inability or not
listening
Not
to their
listening.
people, and gaining the valuable feedback.
of what's going on in the organization. And number two, you gave a second one.
Yeah. So the second one, and the second one was about insecurity.
Mhm.
Is not having someone in the room that you trust to challenge you.
To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So that you can
That's
hear
the
it.
truth.
So
Yeah.
that you can hear it.
Yeah. And the truth is, I think that might be really hard for a lot of people because we don't own our insecurities, right? A lot of times it happens. How does our room become a room full of yes people?
You would say, and probably the best way to say it is, you don't have ownership of your insecurities, and they are invisible enemies, and they own you.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
They do. And I think so often the lie is that we have to figure our insecurity out before we lead. It's not true.
You can't.
No, you can't.
I don't think it's possible.
Listen, I was given this past summer, I led a week. I had never done this before. I was leading a week of high school camp for somebody. Over 1,000 students. But here's what came with the job temporarily for 7 days. They gave me a paid team of 30, 3 full-time staff from the organization, and then all the responsibilities of the program. And they said, you're the lead for this week. Do you know how intimidating that was? The first thing that I did was I grabbed my core team of who I had never met before, by the way, who were on staff full-time to do this for a living, and I was just a paid contracted leader. First thing I did on Sunday afternoons, I pulled them together and I said, hey guys, it's good to meet you. I need 10 minutes to tell you everything I'm insecure about leading this week. You should have seen their faces. They were like, what is wrong with you? And I just laid it out for them. I said, let me tell you the 2 biggest insecurities I have as a leader walking in, not knowing any of you. Number one, I hate the feeling of thinking I should be doing something that I'm not doing and wondering if you're looking at me going, why is he not doing the thing that I'm not? Yeah. I said, so if you don't tell me point blank some things I should be doing, I won't know to be doing them. Like, I know the job description, but let's be honest. What is it you need me to be doing versus what I think I should be doing? The second one is I don't know how that young intern crowd, I'm not sure how I'm going to get all 30 of them to follow my leadership in 24 hours. I don't even know how it's going to be possible.
Yeah.
And if they don't, there's 1,000 high school kids rolling in here in about 24 hours. And if they don't start following it, so I'm kind of flipping out about that on the inside. And so
What did that do? What did that do to the?
oh
that group?
man, first of all, it brought freedom
For you.
Yeah, it brought freedom. Because here's one of the things that what I started doing wrong when I got on site. I started helping doing all these things, and I was getting in the way. Because the blue collar in me was like, pull a case around and do a thing. And I didn't know what it was. And they kind of like, hey, we don't need you to do any of those things. But I'm going, but that's how I show my value. And they go, we need you to be ready for tonight. What do you need to be ready for tonight? I said, I need to go pray, prepare, make sure that I'm good before anybody shows up. Great. Because you're going to be on stage in 6 hours. That's the only thing I need you to worry about. I don't need you to set up. I don't need you to tear down. I need you to give a talk to the team. And if there's a problem, we just need to be available so we can have you solve it. If it's like a top tier problem. Other than that, go find a place that's nearby and get ready. I would have never have done that on my own.
Wow.
This was after the session.
Yeah. Well, it was after we had that talk.
Yeah.
And I was able to go up. I found a corner of the building. We're in this big arena. I got to go sit over here and not feel guilty about, because you know what? I had 4 people that when anybody asked, hey, where's our director at? Oh, we sent him away to make sure he was ready for tonight. because we thought that was the most important thing. What did 30 people hear? 4 people had my back. But also, I invited them in so that when I don't know what I need to be working on. There were a couple times during the week when I wasn't doing the thing I should be doing, and they were able to come to me and go, "Hey, we need you over here, not over here." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, let me change gears." Things like that.
Do you think they would have had the freedom to have that conversation, and they would have just been frustrated with you?
They wouldn't have had the freedom?
No, if you didn't
have
open the door.
Session.
Yeah.
So acknowledging the insecurity actually created freedom for growth, for a win.
Because what I said to them all in that moment was, I trust you to do your jobs.
Why do people not want to admit their insecurities?
Because it's
painful.
It's vulnerability. I don't think vulnerability has been modeled well for society. Even now, like I am over this mental health conversation we're in right now. I'm over it.
Yeah.
It's not helping. All the commercials, all the things, that's not solve the problem of mental health. It just needs to be modeled for us.
Are you saying that because they're talking to the wrong person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the unfortunate thing about mental health is this. I am glad that mental health is now a little bit more normalized. But to be honest with you, as someone that has gone through that battle, even today, it's still tough to talk to somebody who's never battled that, right? Like, just like an alcoholic, friend of mine, he's like, I love you, but you really don't understand what I'm going through. You're like, you're right.
Yeah.
But I can love him, through it. Vulnerability, even more than mental health. But true vulnerability, this is the difference. Transparency is when there's a window in your house and you open the blinds and I can see what's happening inside. A lot of people are transparent. That's not vulnerability. Vulnerability is when you open the door and let someone in to speak into what's going on inside. That is a scary prospect for a lot of people.
That's gold, man.
Yeah.
And someone shared that to me a long time ago, and I've never forgotten it because it's cool to be transparent.
Well, people say that. We have complete transparency around here.
Yeah.
But
vulnerability
they're not
is
invited to speak into.
Yeah, vulnerability is when like, hey man, I think you're off. What's going on? Vulnerability is like, hey, do you need to make some changes to your lifestyle? What you're doing this. I see you running off a cliff. And allowing people to speak into that. And I think that vulnerability for me, it opens doors because that was a vulnerable moment for me. I looked at that room of 30 that night and we brought together just all the people and things. And it was just, it was good. It was like from night one, the culture changed. And the result was they said, we'd never experienced a culture like this before.
Wow.
So when leaders don't have the ability or the desire to listen and understand what's really going on, or they're insecure about certain things that they will never open up to because for some reason it makes them feel like they're weak in the eyes of other people. Right. And for leaders of business organizations, I mean, that's a big issue, right? They don't want to appear as weak.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and part of that is, like John, you said the model's broken, and they believe that they're supposed to be strong and have all the answers,
and never show any vulnerabilities because vulnerabilities equals weakness.
Right. Yeah.
In most business leaders' minds, I would think that they would equate vulnerability, insecurities equals weakness. Weakness, bad. No weakness, good.
Weakness, bad.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and so what happens when a leader can't get there or not listen, or not really hearing and don't have people that they trust to speak into them about their insecurities? What happens?
It breaks down trust in the organization. It breaks down a culture that could be solving more problems for you and with you. Because you allow, like it breaks that down where it's like only a select few can do this or things like that. It breaks down really even in you. At the end of the day, you get isolated And you become alone and you're driving home every night going, why am I the only one that cares about this? How many times have I said that in my life?
Yeah.
And I had to, do you remember when I did the whiteboard session where I said, what do you want to lead, task or heart?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, I feel like I'm the only one that goes home every day that cares about this. You know, that's like, I just said it out loud. It wasn't true, but I needed to say it. That's why I got you guys together for lunch. But the ripple effect, the echo is like, we're creating echoes with our life. Echoes make impact. That's like an echo, like, right? It's an, and you get into echo chamber, you're not making impact anymore. You're just hearing your own voice. And,
that's funny because when I hear all of this, I'm a very visual person. I see pictures when you talk, and like that lack of listening, the insecurity that drives the lack of listening, it drives it. So I would put that at number one, the insecurity and then the listening, but it puts a lid on the growth. It puts a lid on it. There's no way you can grow.
It freezes an organization.
So once you put the lid on it, you have four walls, and that's where echoes are created.
That's how a chamber is created.
Yeah, that's how
the chamber.
It's just bouncing off those four walls back into your own ears.
It's just you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
good.
I think that I think there is a balance. Like, we don't need to walk around and go every day as a leader like, here's all my problems.
I'm a terrible husband. I'm a terrible procrastinator.
I think there's circles. So like, if you're not working on these things, that's also a problem.
And you're not fishing for compliments in this. No. Like, you have a level of competence and competence, or you wouldn't be. Did I repeat it?
Yes.
Competence and competence?
Yeah.
Competence and confidence. You have levels of those. And there's a reason why you're sitting in the chair that you're sitting in or standing in the position that you're standing in. Like, there's a reason for this. You have vision. You have desire. You're trying to create something and whatever.
You've had something to at least get you to that point.
You've done the stuff, right? But if you're going to build anything of significance, you can't do it by yourself. You just can't.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's not even confessing that insecurity out loud. It's just being self-aware enough to know that you have it. Like, if the only thing you do in this life is just be self-aware enough to know that you have it. And how it filters.
Let me ask you a question that I appreciate about you. Is your the self-awareness, because I've known you for so long, and I remember the conversations at the pool.
How messed up I truly was.
At the pool?
One of our first conversations.
More like the hot tub.
And one of my first conversations, like we were actually butted heads a bit when I first started, and I said, John, if you didn't have the stage, I don't remember how I said it, but if, like, what would you do? Like, how important is that to you? Like, that was my question. How important is the stage or being up in front of everybody to you?
Yeah.
And I think that changed our relationship.
You asked me some of the toughest questions I've ever been asked.
Yeah.
Like, period.
Yeah.
And like,
he does the same thing with me.
I'm living today on that mantra.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I lost a consistent platform 2 years ago. And the only way that, like,
you would know,
it's like, I know now, if the only thing I get to do the rest of my life is have rooms of 3 or 4 people in front of me, well, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I've had rooms of thousands.
Yeah.
But do I feel as excited about a room for helping?
Right.
And leaving and doing this journey now, like, last summer I had an amazing moment where I got done. I've been speaking for an organization for 10 years. Can't even believe it's been 10 years. CIY. Last year was the first year. It took 10 years, sadly, to own this. I got done with I usually do like 3 times a summer for them. I got done. I walked off the stage and I was like, man, that was awesome.
And how many people are you speaking to at these venues?
Usually 800 to 1,000.
And 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Yeah. I usually do 2 nights in a row, 3 times a summer, and then other things. I got down with that and I went, I was visiting a friend in Texas while I was their thing at the end of the event. And I got home and I went outside and sat down. And I went, for the first time in 10 years, I went, man, that was fun. If I never get to do that again, it's okay. Because I found some new joys in my life.
That's great, dude.
But it took a long time. Like, honestly, I didn't know I don't know if they're going to call or not. They Like this year when they called, like I know there's a shelf life to what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And they called and they offered me 1 date this year instead of 4. Well, 1, that's financial impact on my life. But 2, I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I readied myself for that call last year when this personal work happened. And you started that personal work a long time ago. Because the truth is, I had to get to a place where who am I without that stage?
Yeah. Well, and the reason I'm asking or even mentioning that is we're sitting in a place now, all this time later, and you're standing in front of people and you're saying, I'm insecure about this, this, and this. It blows my mind. It literally blows my mind because I don't know if people even know how to name it. Like, how in the world did you get to a place where you can name it so clearly? That's powerful, man. That is powerful.
I think if we all got to a place where we could name the things we're insecure about, it takes its power away. It takes the power away from the thing that holds us back because there's a facade there. There's a facade.
Yeah.
And that facade is, I am great. That's why people follow me. Therefore, I cannot let them see a chink in the armor, a weakness, a crack, because people follow me because I'm likable, I'm productive, I'm energetic, I'm enthusiastic, I'm empowering, and I cannot show weakness. I mean, kingdoms have fallen.
Right.
Kingdoms in history have fallen because of an ego that will not allow itself to see the insecurity of what's wrong, and then to really hear the people. I mean, movies have been made about it. Books have been written. I mean,
You know what's interesting
dynasties
about
have been,
that?
yeah.
People will follow you for those things. They will, but they will not change because of them. They will follow you for those things. They will follow us for those things. And they will follow the shine on Instagram, but they won't walk away because they aren't changed. And then
They eventually will walk away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a side effect of that is we've dehumanized everything, right?
Yeah.
Like in the last several years, our society has experienced some things we've never experienced before. And we become people on the far left or the far right. But really, at the end of the day, what affects our lives is that when we see people as humans with real emotions and real loss and real gain and real families. And when we get back to that core thing, it changes. We can still have our opinion and our disagreement, but the raw emotion of what I don't like changes, And I fell into a big trap with all of the stuff that's happening when I dehumanize the news. When people lose people, a death is still a death. It affects people, and I think that in our workplaces and all that stuff, at the end of the day, I think people just want to be human. And there's so many times when, if we're self-aware enough, we walk into a room, we want to ask something of somebody, but if we just see them as a human, we would know now's not the time. I need to ask them later. My daughters, right? You've got daughters, If I talk to my oldest if I really need to have a tough conversation, there's only 2 places in the day that I can really do that effectively. Now, sometimes I have to do it, but because I have to recognize the human on the other end of it. And I don't always do that well. My wife calls me on it, So I just think we have to humanize ourselves a little bit more. And I think that's just what people want. I think people will follow that even further. You can have insecurity and a strength and operate at the same time. You can be confident in your abilities and be working on insecurity.
I think if you can get those trusted people in your life, like the Chris Balls for me, right? Because we've had some very transparent conversations. And I know you have as well, and we have, but you two together more, us two together more, you and I, some. But they've been very pivotal and very effective. But if you can get to a place where you can open the door and people can see you for who you are, and you're willing to be transparent, it's freeing. It's the most freeing thing ever. Finding that person and trusting them to let them in, to speak that. How does a leader or how does a person go about that? What is that process? I mean, we talked about the 2 cardinal sins, the 2 biggest pitfalls of a leader. How does a leader move past that? Is it just a self-awareness and a decision? Like if someone's listening today, if there's a leader or a rising leader or potential leader that's listening today, they realize I've got these issues in my life. What are the steps they have to take to start to move towards freeing that?
So life's about handing out invitations, isn't it? Like it's an invitation handout every day to our circle. So let me flip the script and ask the question, how can you become someone that people trust to offer that feedback? And then I'll go back to what you said. Does that make sense?
Give me.
So you want people in your life to be able to speak that into you. How do you become one of those people that someone would want in the circle that says,
that they feel safe enough to give you the feedback?
I think it's helpful to know how do you become one of those kinds of people, because that's a skill too. And I'll tell you, it comes down to one simple thing. There's a relationship that's formed and a belief that's offered. And I think if you offer your belief in someone and you share that with them, hey, I want you to know, I think you're the right man for this job. That's a cheesy way of saying it, but like, hey, I see the way that I appreciate how you're leading this, and this, and I want you to know I believe in that. Like, authentic belief matters at the table, not like cheesy belief. Like, oh yeah, like we waste our time with good jobs. Like, don't waste your time with good jobs. Pick out something specific.
Saying good job.
Generalities. Generalities.
Yeah.
John speaks very similar to how I speak.
I know. You love it.
Yeah, because we speak in code. Like we speak in short.
We do a terrible job with good jobs. What does good jobs mean? I knew what he meant, but there's some listeners.
But I mean, that's why you're here.
Handing out the term good job.
Yeah.
But you want to be good. You want to be a valued member of the team. Find specific ways that you can apply to acknowledge and encourage your leader. Leaders are the most under-encouraged people on the planet, which is why they operate out of their insecurity in the first place. Because they don't know who believes in them. And so sometimes you thrive in that environment. It's like me against the world, but that only lasts so long. Be someone who can encourage the leader. And I promise you, in due time, the other side of that is if you're a leader who's self-aware enough to confess your insecurity work, you're going to recognize who believes. And so you asked, how do you get there? It comes down to one word: risk. You have to risk a dangerous conversation with somebody, where you pull them in close and say, hey, can I be honest with you? Man, I really appreciate you. You've encouraged me so much. That's why I'm going to trust you with this. Because I know I just feel like you believe in what I'm doing. And I really feel like I'm the wrong person for doing this thing over here. And here's why. I don't even know how to do it. People expect me to do it. Like, it's a risk. It's a risk. You have to risk something in order to make progress, right? And if you're not willing to risk a conversation, which, by the way, may fail.
Yeah.
Like, warning, ticker tape across the bottom of this episode, your risk will not always pay off. Your vulnerability risk, you may fail.
Ticker tape.
And so I can tell you this, where it won't fail, it may fail in getting you what you need on that end, the relationship. But where it won't fail you. Because you have just done the one thing that you need to do with your insecurity. You brought it out in the open. You just became more self-aware.
Turn the light on.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, again, John, thank you for being here for another episode of Life Insurance Academy podcast.
This one was fantastic.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man.
This segment was awesome. This segment was awesome.
Thanks for letting me confess all my insecurities.
And remind us, how can people reach you?
Yeah, they can go to my website, unlockingcreativeleadership.com. You can find me on socials at Jon Mccallon, JonMccallon, or at Your House Blend. That's the name of my company, House Blend. So
very cool, man.
And again, look out for some collaborative things that we may be doing in the future, because I see tremendous value in this.
Yep.
For our audience, our listeners, and for people who are aspiring business owners and established, successful business owners who are trying to get to the next level. Can
you imagine your agents, the success they're going to have when they get over there? Like, they know what they're insecure about before they walk up to the house.
Oh,
yeah.
They've already wrestled that to the ground instead of wrestling with it when they
In the moment.
knock on the door,
Yeah.
right? Like
in the moment.
wrestle with it in the car on the car ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. This has been a tremendous episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.